Wendy Williams. Hunter's life is a story of bold ambition, dazzling success, and deeply human struggle. Born in 1964 in Asbury Park, New Jersey, Wendy rose from radio DJ to daytime television icon, creating a career built on honesty, humor, and a signature flair that made her unforgettable. For over a decade, The Wendy Williams Show was a cultural staple, blending gossip with candor in a way no other host could replicate. Her catchphrase, "How you doin'?" became more than entertainment. It became a part of American pop culture. Yet behind the glamour and laughter, Wendy's life has also been marked by personal and professional challenges. In recent years, she has faced her most difficult battles: a diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia and aphasia, illnesses that have altered the very foundation of her voice and personality. Alongside health struggles, Wendy also experienced financial complications, including court-ordered guardianship, which underscored the vulnerability that illness can bring even to the most successful figures. Despite these hardships, Wendy's legacy remains intact. A woman who built an empire from authenticity, who inspired audiences through both triumph and vulnerability, and who continues to remind the world that resilience is as much a part of her story as fame. Early life and ambition. Wendy Williams, Hunter's story begins in Asbury Park, New Jersey, where she was born on July 18, 1964, into a family that valued structure, education, and ambition. Her parents, Shirley and Thomas Williams Sr., raised their 3 children, Wendy, her sister Wanda, and her brother Thomas Jr., with a focus on discipline and personal achievement. From childhood, Wendy was described as bold, outspoken, and endlessly curious, a girl who rarely faded into the background. Even in her earliest years, teachers and neighbors recognized she had a flair for communication and an eagerness to speak her mind, sometimes to the amusement, and sometimes to the discomfort of those around her. Growing taller than most of her peers, eventually standing at 1.78 meters, Wendy carried herself with a confidence that seemed destined for the stage or the spotlight. Yet her path to that place was neither linear nor easy. It was fueled by persistence, determination, and a refusal to accept invisibility in a world that often underestimated women with big voices. Education was an anchor in her life, and after completing high school, she pursued communications at Northeastern University, a decision that would set the stage for her broadcasting career. It was at Northeastern where Wendy sharpened her craft, learning not just the technical skills of radio, but also the art of presence, how to speak in a way that could command attention without apology. When she graduated, she knew the traditional routes of quiet reporting or scripted broadcasting would not be enough to contain her personality. She wanted more than a career, she wanted impact. Entering the male-dominated world of radio in the 1980s, Wendy faced challenges that would have silenced many others, but instead of conforming, she leaned into her boldness. She carved out a persona that was unapologetically direct, provocative, and funny, making her stand out in an industry hesitant to give women such freedom. Her ambition was clear from the start. She would not just participate in broadcasting, she would own it. By the late 1980s and throughout the 1990s, Wendy had already begun to establish herself as one of the most distinctive voices in radio. Her energy, combined with her sharp wit and willingness to dive into topics others avoided, positioned her as a cultural commentator before the term was widely used. She was a shock jock, yes, but she was also more than that, an observer of the world who translated everyday gossip, celebrity drama, and cultural shifts into conversations that listeners couldn't turn away from. For a woman navigating a competitive industry, she was building a lane entirely her own, one that blurred the lines between entertainment, journalism, and personal storytelling. rise in radio and transition to television. Wendy's career in radio became the foundation for her later success, but it was far more than a stepping stone. Radio gave her the freedom to be fully herself, to let her personality shape the content rather than hide behind a script. She quickly became one of the most talked about voices on air in New York City, gaining notoriety for her fearless commentary. She was the kind of host who would ask questions that others tiptoed around, often sparking debates and sometimes controversy, but always commanding attention. This willingness to be provocative earned her both criticism and loyalty. Listeners tuned in not just to hear the latest gossip, but to experience Wendy's unique ability to say what many thought but few dared to voice. Her reputation as a fearless broadcaster only grew, and with that reputation came influence. In an era where celebrity culture was becoming increasingly central to media, Wendy offered audiences an unfiltered look behind the curtain. She wasn't afraid to call out public figures, and while that sometimes earned her enemies in the entertainment industry, it also earned her a devoted following. People trusted her candor even when they disagreed with her approach. For many, Wendy was not simply delivering news or entertainment. She was shaping conversations, providing cultural commentary, and reflecting the unspoken truths of her audience's curiosity. But radio, despite its reach, had limitations. The rise of visual media and daytime television presented a new opportunity, and Wendy seized it. In 2008, The Wendy Williams Show premiered, bringing her distinctive voice to an even larger audience. The show was an instant hit, setting itself apart with Wendy's Hot Topics segment, where she dissected celebrity stories with humour, sass, and unfiltered honesty. This wasn't just entertainment, it was a masterclass in personality-driven television. Wendy's catchphrase, "How you doin'?" became iconic, a shorthand for her playful yet authentic connection with viewers. Her larger-than-life personality translated seamlessly from radio to television, but now audiences could see her expressions, her style, and her presence, making the connection even stronger. The show's success was not simply in its gossip segments. It was in Wendy's ability to bring vulnerability and honesty to daytime TV. Unlike many hosts who kept their personal lives guarded, Wendy openly discussed her own struggles, from marriage troubles to health scares, making her more relatable to viewers. Audiences saw not just a celebrity host, but a woman who lived openly, flaws and all. That openness set her apart, creating a bond of trust with fans who tuned in day after day, not just for celebrity updates, but for the honesty and humour of Wendy herself. Over more than a decade, The Wendy Williams Show became one of the most prominent talk shows in America. Wendy's influence stretched far beyond her set. She shaped the way gossip and entertainment news were consumed. What was once dismissed as trivial became central to mainstream conversation, and Wendy stood at the forefront of that cultural shift. Her presence on television blurred the lines between news, entertainment, and personal confession, making her both a media pioneer and a cultural icon. Fame and the price of success. With success came both extraordinary rewards and equally immense challenges. Wendy enjoyed wealth, recognition, and opportunities that few could ever imagine. She signed lucrative contracts, her show brought in high ratings, and she became a household name. Advertisers and sponsors clamoured to be associated with her brand, and she was celebrated for her ability to reinvent the daytime format. Yet the same openness and boldness that fueled her rise also exposed her to intense scrutiny. Every detail of her personal life, from her marriages to her health, became fodder for the same gossip culture she had mastered. Her first marriage to Bert Girigori in 1994 was short-lived, ending after only a year. Though little was publicly shared about the relationship, It was her second marriage to Kevin Hunter that would remain under the spotlight for decades. Married in 1999, Wendy and Kevin built both a family and, for a time, a professional partnership, as Kevin was involved in the production of her show. Together, they welcomed their son, Kevin Hunter Jr., who became one of the most important parts of Wendy's life. For many years, the family presented a united front. But as Wendy's fame grew, so did the pressures on her marriage. Their divorce in 2020 was highly publicized, filled with speculation and commentary, and for Wendy, it was both a personal heartbreak and a professional challenge. Still, through it all, her son remained a source of stability, grounding her amid the chaos of fame. Beyond her relationships, Wendy also faced the relentless toll of celebrity scrutiny. Rumors about her health circulated frequently, sometimes fueled by her own candor about her struggles, including fainting on air and admitting to past battles with addiction. Financial questions, too, were often raised, particularly during times of personal upheaval. The constant public gaze magnified every challenge, every stumble, and every rumor, creating an atmosphere of pressure that few could withstand. Yet Wendy's ability to turn her own struggles into content, speaking openly about her pain, her setbacks, and her resilience, allowed her to maintain her authenticity. She never pretended to be perfect, and in that imperfection, audiences saw someone real. The price of success, however, went beyond public scrutiny. The pressures of maintaining a daily talk show, of constantly performing, and of balancing personal and professional demands took a visible toll. Fame provided wealth, opportunity, and influence, but it also brought exhaustion, heartbreak, and vulnerability. Wendy's journey reveals the dual nature of celebrity life. The rewards are immense, but so too are the costs. For Wendy, the cost was sometimes visible in her health, sometimes in her personal life, but always in the weight she carried as both a cultural icon and a human being navigating life under a microscope. Health challenges, frontotemporal dementia, and aphasia. In recent years, Wendy Williams has endured one of the most difficult chapters of her life, facing health challenges that have forever altered both her career and her day-to-day existence. Diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, FTD, and aphasia, Wendy has had to grapple with illnesses that strike at the very core of who she is and how she connects with the world. FTD, which targets the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain, often results in profound changes in behavior, personality, and communication, while aphasia directly impairs a person's ability to speak, write, or comprehend language. For Wendy, whose career was built upon her commanding voice, quick wit, and ability to entertain and inform with words, these diagnoses were not just medical challenges, but deeply personal ones. Her identity has always been tied to her communication, whether on radio, where she became one of New York's most distinctive voices, or on television, where her candid humor defined daytime talk for over a decade, and to now have those very tools compromised has been profoundly devastating. Fans who once tuned in daily to watch her dissect celebrity gossip with humor and honesty have been met with the heartbreaking reality of her silence and retreat from the spotlight. What makes FTD and aphasia uniquely painful is that they are not illnesses that reveal themselves through visible physical changes alone, but instead through the erosion of one's ability to engage, express, and connect. This loss of communication creates not only medical hurdles, but also emotional ones, leading to frustration, confusion, and isolation for those affected. For Wendy, whose career depended on her ability to connect with millions, the impact was particularly sharp. Yet even in these circumstances, she has faced her diagnoses with remarkable courage, choosing to acknowledge her struggles rather than conceal them, and in doing so, she has given her fans and the public a chance to understand the human cost of such conditions. While her health has forced her to step back from the public stage she once dominated, her resilience in the face of these diagnoses has become a quiet but powerful testament to her strength. Financial struggles and public scrutiny. Alongside her health battles, Wendy Williams has also had to navigate the difficult terrain of financial instability and public scrutiny, challenges that arrived at a time when she was already coping with the immense toll of her illnesses. Despite a career that spanned decades and brought her immense success, lucrative contracts, and celebrity status, reports in recent years suggested that Wendy's financial situation had become increasingly complicated, particularly following her divorce from Kevin Hunter in 2020 and her subsequent health decline. Divorce is difficult under any circumstances, but when paired with a high-profile career and ongoing medical conditions, it created a storm of legal, personal, and financial complications. As Wendy's health issues deepened, concerns arose about her ability to make independent financial decisions, leading to reports that her accounts and estate had been placed under court-appointed guardianship. This step, designed to protect her from potential mismanagement or exploitation, nevertheless sparked public debate and speculation about her financial security. For a woman who had once been in full control of her professional empire, the shift in financial autonomy was a painful reminder of how quickly illness can strip away independence. Maintaining her lifestyle, which included luxury real estate holdings and a high-profile public image, also carried enormous costs. Add to this the expenses of medical care and legal disputes, and it is not surprising that questions arose about whether even someone of Wendy's stature could withstand the financial pressures brought on by her circumstances. The scrutiny was relentless, with headlines speculating on her wealth, her guardianship, and her spending, often overshadowing the reality that she was simultaneously fighting for her health. Yet, despite the external noise, Wendy remained financially secure enough to ensure her care and provide stability for herself and her family. While she may have lost some measure of financial independence, she retained her dignity and her legacy as someone whose work had generated both wealth and influence. Her situation served as a sobering reminder of how vulnerable even the most successful public figures can be when personal health crises collide with financial responsibilities. Fame and fortune can provide stability, but they cannot shield anyone from the unpredictability of life, and Wendy's financial challenges highlighted that reality with painful clarity. The show's end and legacy. The decline of Wendy Williams's health ran parallel to the gradual end of The Wendy Williams Show, a closure that marked not only the end of a program, but also the conclusion of an era in daytime television. Debuting in 2008, the show quickly became a cultural phenomenon, distinguished by Wendy's Hot Topics segment, her larger-than-life personality, and her ability to blend humour with honesty in a way that kept audiences captivated. For more than a decade, she was a fixture in homes across America, offering a mix of celebrity gossip, cultural commentary, and candid personal reflections that set her apart from other hosts. However, as her health issues became more apparent, Wendy's absences from the show grew longer. Her ability to carry the demanding schedule of daily television diminished, and speculation about her well-being intensified. By 2022, it was clear that her time at the helm of the show was drawing to a close. For fans, the ending was bittersweet. While it represented the natural conclusion of a groundbreaking run, it also reflected the toll that her personal struggles had taken on her ability to continue. Still, her legacy in daytime television remains undeniable. Wendy was not simply a talk show host, she was a trailblazer who redefined how gossip and celebrity commentary could be delivered. She transformed gossip into an art form, delivering it with humour, empathy, and a signature flair that made her instantly recognizable. Her influence can be seen in the countless shows and hosts that followed her lead, borrowing from her style of candid, personality-driven commentary. Even as her health forced her to retire, the cultural imprint she left remained strong. She gave daytime television an edge, a humour, and an authenticity that had rarely been seen before, and her ability to connect with her audience on such a personal level continues to resonate. The end of her show may have closed one chapter, but it did not erase the groundbreaking contributions she made to her field. Her legacy endures as one of resilience, innovation, and cultural impact, forever linking her name with the evolution of modern entertainment, retirement, and current status in 2025. As of 2025, Wendy Williams is 61 years old, living a life that looks vastly different from the one she led during her peak years in broadcasting. Retirement, though not originally by choice, has become her reality as her health conditions require daily care and consistent support. Gone are the days of her bounding onto the stage with infectious energy, delivering her famous catchphrase and breaking down the latest celebrity drama with her trademark honesty. In their place is a quieter existence, one focused on health, stability, and the comfort of family. Surrounded by the love and support of her son, Kevin Hunter Jr., and a close circle of trusted loved ones, Wendy now spends her days away from the intense spotlight that once defined her life. While her diagnoses of frontotemporal dementia and aphasia have limited her ability to engage publicly, occasional updates from her family and representatives reassure her fans that she is receiving proper care and maintaining as much dignity as possible under the circumstances. Financially, despite the earlier speculation and public debates, she remains stable, her decades of work ensuring that she has the resources necessary for her ongoing care. Though she no longer commands the stage as she once did, her presence still looms large in the cultural memory of those who watched her rise, dominate, and ultimately step back from the public eye. Wendy Williams today is a woman defined not by the gossip headlines of yesterday, but by her resilience in the face of immense challenges. She represents the reality that fame, while dazzling, does not shield one from the vulnerabilities of life, and her story is a reminder of both the fragility of health and the importance of legacy. While she may never return to the world of broadcasting, her impact continues to ripple outward, influencing those who followed in her footsteps and remaining alive in the hearts of her audience. In retirement, she has traded the stage for serenity, the spotlight for stability, and while her voice may be quieter now, the echo of her influence remains as powerful as ever. The role of family and support. Through every high and low in Wendy Williams's remarkable journey, family has been the foundation that anchored her when the spotlight dimmed and the applause faded. While her career was often marked by controversy, headlines, and the constant hum of public scrutiny, it was within the bonds of family that she found her most profound sense of stability and purpose. Her son, Kevin Hunter Jr., has been the centerpiece of that support system, stepping into a role that blends love, care, and responsibility as Wendy faces the daunting challenges of her health. Kevin has grown into more than just her child. He has become her confidant, protector, and grounding force, someone who has helped her confront the reality of her diagnoses with dignity and resilience. Their relationship is a testament to the depth of maternal bonds, reminding the world that beneath the glitz of celebrity lies the universal truth of family connection. Wendy's siblings, Wanda Williams and Thomas Williams Jr., have also played significant roles, offering her the comfort of continuity, the sense of belonging to something larger than herself, and the reminder that she remains deeply loved, not only as a media personality, but as a sister, aunt, and daughter. The memory of her late mother, Shirley Williams, is equally important to Wendy's narrative, serving as a spiritual anchor and a source of quiet strength. Wendy often spoke about her mother with reverence, acknowledging the profound influence Shirley had on shaping her character and her determination. That legacy of resilience and grace lives on within Wendy as she navigates her later years. While her marriages brought turbulence, heartbreak, and often public humiliation, most notably with the end of her long relationship with Kevin Hunter Sr., Wendy's later years highlight the enduring importance of family over fame. It is not the fleeting spotlight or headlines that sustain her today, but the constant, unwavering love of those closest to her. In a world where celebrity can sometimes feel isolating and unforgiving, Wendy's story demonstrates how the strength of family provides a lifeline, a shield against loneliness, and a reminder that even in struggle, no one has to face adversity alone. Surrounded by the people who care for her most deeply, Wendy's current life is a living testament to the power of love and support in carrying someone through even the darkest of storms. The cost of fame and resilience. Wendy Williams's journey is also a striking reflection of the cost of fame, how the privileges of wealth, influence, and global recognition are inextricably intertwined with vulnerability, exposure, and loss of privacy. Fame gave Wendy everything she had once dreamed of. It made her a household name, brought her financial success, and provided her with a platform to influence millions of viewers daily. Yet with that visibility came an unrelenting spotlight that magnified every triumph and every stumble, turning personal struggles into public debates and private pain into tabloid fodder. For Wendy, the price of her success was steep. Her candid, unfiltered approach to broadcasting endeared her to audiences, but also made her a target for critics who scrutinized her every move and often weaponized her honesty against her. As her health began to decline and reports of frontotemporal dementia and aphasia became public, the same fame that had elevated her became a magnifying glass under which her vulnerabilities were displayed for the world to see. Her financial autonomy, once a symbol of her hard-earned independence, came under question, with guardianship proceedings and speculation about her wealth becoming news stories in their own right. The intersection of illness and financial scrutiny revealed a sobering truth. Even those who appear to have it all can be stripped of control when health falters. Yet amid the challenges, what stands out most in Wendy's story is her resilience. Resilience does not mean invulnerability. It does not mean a life free of struggle. Instead, resilience is the ability to face adversity with honesty, to acknowledge one's vulnerability while refusing to be wholly defined by it. Wendy embodied that resilience even as her world shifted dramatically. Fans continue to celebrate her legacy, clinging to the countless moments of laughter and honesty she offered during her years on radio and television. They remember her not only as the talk show queen, but also as a woman who faced her difficulties openly, showing that strength lies not in hiding struggles, but in living authentically through them. Wendy's resilience is, in many ways, her greatest legacy. It reminds us that the human spirit can endure even when the circumstances of life test its limits. Legacy of humour, honesty, and humanity. Wendy Williams's legacy is complex, layered, and deeply human. She was never simply a broadcaster or television host. She was a cultural force who reshaped the tone of daytime entertainment and redefined how celebrity commentary could be delivered. At her peak, Wendy brought humour, candour, and an unflinching honesty to television that was unmatched, creating a space where audiences could laugh, be entertained, and feel as though they were part of an intimate conversation. Her signature, "How you doing?" catchphrase became more than a greeting. It became a cultural marker, a phrase that embodied her accessibility, her humour, and her authenticity. But Wendy's legacy extends far beyond her television persona. Her willingness to be open about her struggles, from her battles with addiction in earlier years to her health challenges later in life, offered her audience something rare in celebrity culture: vulnerability. In a world where many public figures strive to maintain a polished, untouchable image, Wendy's willingness to reveal her flaws made her relatable, allowing viewers to see their own challenges reflected in hers. That honesty, combined with her humor, is what cemented her bond with her audience. Her career also paved the way for others, particularly women and people of color, to occupy spaces in broadcasting that had long been closed or difficult to enter. She was bold, unapologetic, and unwilling to conform to the expectations that others tried to place upon her, and in doing so, she carved out a lane that was uniquely her own. Yet her legacy is not without its shadows. The controversies surrounding her show and her personal life remain part of her story, reminders that no public figure's legacy is entirely without blemish. However, it is precisely this complexity, this intertwining of triumphs and failures, laughter and tears, that makes her legacy so profoundly human. Wendy Williams will be remembered not just for her cultural impact, but also for her authenticity, her courage to share her story, and her resilience in the face of extraordinary difficulty. She showed the world that humanity itself, with all its contradictions, can be both inspiring and relatable. Conclusion: a story of triumph, struggle, and reinvention. Wendy Williams's life and career are best understood as a tapestry woven with threads of triumph, struggle, reinvention, and resilience. From her early days as a bold radio shock jock in New York, unafraid to ask the questions others avoided, to her reign as a beloved daytime television host who captivated millions, Wendy built a career that was as unconventional as it was groundbreaking. Her authenticity, her humor, and her willingness to share herself fully made her a singular figure in the landscape of American entertainment. Yet the later years of her life have revealed the other side of fame, the vulnerability, the scrutiny, and the personal costs that come with being a public figure. Her battles with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia have forced her into a quieter life. Her financial struggles have raised uncomfortable questions about the fragility of success, and her retreat from the spotlight has been bittersweet for fans who still long to see her command the stage once more. But these struggles do not diminish her story. Rather, they complete it. They reveal Wendy Williams as not just a media personality, but as a woman who has lived boldly, stumbled publicly, and risen resiliently. Today, at 61, Wendy lives surrounded by the love and support of her family, embracing a life that is quieter but no less meaningful. Her story is ultimately one of reinvention, showing that even when circumstances alter the trajectory of life, the essence of one's influence remains untouched. Wendy Williams will always be remembered, not only for her sharp wit and cultural contributions, but for her humanity, her honesty, and her resilience. Her journey reminds us that the measure of a legacy is not in perfection, but in the courage to live authentically, to rise after each fall, and to leave behind a story that inspires empathy, compassion, and admiration. In triumph and in struggle, Wendy Williams has given the world a legacy that endures, one rooted in humor, honesty, and above all, humanity.